If we allow it, life can be like running on a treadmill. We can burn energy, lots of energy, but we never go very far. All too often, all of us are consumed with wasting energy, wasting time, and never making any positive progress towards what we want for our life. Just think about how crazy and ridiculous that principle sounds. Wasting energy, wasting time, never going very far, and never actually making progress towards what we want in our lives. So why do we all allow this ridiculous principle become such a prominent rule and anchor in our lives?
And if we're honest with ourselves, we're all living our lives on a treadmill. We're born, we go to school, might go to university, might not. We end up getting a job, and at some point, maybe a family. And before you know it, boom, suddenly we find we're halfway through our lives, and they're taking over us. Our lives are running our own lives. And we haven't actually ever stopped to think, what is the life that we actually want? What is the life that we actually want to be, and what impact do we want to have with our lives? And I mean, what do we really want our lives to be? And honestly and really, what should it count for? So let's stop, thank God. Get off your treadmill of life and reboot your life. And I mean, I want you to stop and think, what is the life that I actually want if I started with a blank sheet of paper, and then more importantly, act on it? And what is the footprint that you want to leave when you're not here anymore?
That was a good idea 6 months ago. So much of what we've heard today has purpose at its core, and purpose plays such an important role in our lives. But unfortunately, I think all of us will wait for that significant life moment to create a spark in us, or to ignite that moment where we go, hang on a minute, where am I really going with life? And the other great thing about purpose is it makes you do crazy things, and it makes you do things that you never thought you could do. So about 12 months ago, I'd known Warren a couple of months, and I said to him on Grand Rock Beach doing an interview, how about we do something that has a really high chance of failure? We'll probably get injured. It's going to involve a heck of a lot of blood, sweat and tears and bad humour and time with me. And without blinking or even taking a breath, he said, yep, let's do it. And that crazy thing was to take on 7 marathons in 7 days. And now bear in mind, I'd never run a marathon before. Warren had done one badly and ended up in the back of an ambulance. But that's the beauty of purpose. It takes logic out of it and makes you realise that you actually can do things that you didn't think you could do.
It's interesting. So why would I make that silly decision in the first place and actually say yes so quickly? Well, it sort of comes right the way back. It's sort of been piecemeal in a way how it came to this. I've been lucky to meet some amazing people through my work and through my life. And some of those people aren't people you might necessarily expect. They are people who've had cancer, maybe have cancer and are facing the end of their life. There's people, I can see them in my mind as I'm saying them, who have lost limbs in war or through a tragic accident. And the thing that struck me about these people that I'm thinking about is that they did amazing things despite these things that had happened to them. But, and this is the important bit, they did it once that had happened. And I started thinking about this, and I thought, I know that I would try and do that if I had a life-changing moment like that. And I thought, why wait for cancer? Why wait to lose a limb before I suddenly try and do something, impressive or pushing myself further than I can? And that's sort of one of the reasons and one of the things that I came to, which led to me doing the 7 in 7. And the other thing, and maybe an even more important thing, is that purpose kicked in when I thought about my dad died when he was 50. Now I'm 42, so I'm 8 years away from that. And I started to think, what about if my journey in life is the same length of time? Maybe if it's 8 years, I've got 8 years left. What impact am I going to have on the people around me, the world around me in Guernsey, and maybe even further afield? If I die when I'm 50, I want to have done something that has made a difference.
Yeah, and for me, I've had several life moments that have made me stop and think. The first time I went to Africa 8 years ago to meet the beautiful people we were helping with projects and realising the impact you can have. when my kids were born 4 and 6 years ago. Again, that moment where you stop and think, well, what legacy am I going to leave behind? It also made me realise how difficult being a parent is. And when my mother-in-law died unexpectedly 18 months ago, was just a brutal reminder of how life is finite and how we do need to make the most of every single day that we have. And during that 7 in 7 challenge and the training, I started to question, but not only question, realise that actually waiting for those moments to happen to us shouldn't cause us to stop and think about where life is going. It can be a daily routine and a daily mindset that we have.
And part of that, certainly for us, was setting an ambition that was way beyond what we thought was actually possible for us to do, which meant we had to really challenge ourselves on our own thinking. And one of the things that actually a lot of people said, certainly in the early days of our training last year, is, how do you fit it in? We've got busy lives, we'd like to do something like that, but we can't find the time to either train or do it. And we're in the same position. We've got our own businesses, we've got our own young families, and we've got responsibilities. And what became really clear very early on is that when you set yourself a high goal, and also when you've got a real reason for doing it, a real purpose behind doing it, suddenly things start to align. What's important in your life starts to sort of come into sharp focus. So suddenly Coronation Street and EastEnders don't seem to matter quite so much, and going out and training towards your end goal seems to start to become far more important. And it was very quick that we worked out what the important foundations in our life were: our work, our family, and then in our case training. Those 3 core components were what we had to focus on, and the other things didn't seem to matter so much.
Since completing the challenge, we've had a few people ask us, would we run as much as we do without reason? Would we get up at 6 a.m. on a cold, wet winter's morning to churn out 20 miles before work? The answer is really, really simple. Not a chance. I know we look a little bit stupid in suits and trainers, but we're really not that stupid. And it's only because Warren and I wrapped around this bigger purpose of changing lives of people in Guernsey and changing lives of people in Africa and challenging our own lives through the 7 marathons in 7 days, that we were fueled by that purpose, by that bigger goal that we had, that we would get up every single day when we didn't really want to, get our trainers on and go out in the wet wind on the west coast of Guernsey.
And I think if we didn't have that purpose, I genuinely don't think I would have even made it to the start line. It was the thing that really took you far beyond what you thought you could do and pushed you further and made you really, really grit down when you just didn't want to do it anymore. And I got a real example of that, and it was on our 3rd day of the marathons. I wasn't in a good way. I got out of bed and I literally couldn't walk. And I'm not joking about not walking. Pretend there's a wall between me and Philip. This was how I had to walk to top of the stairs. Literally, that was an hour and a half before I had to start running a marathon. And I managed to get downstairs. It took me 10 minutes. And I was sat on my own with my 4 Weetabix, Googling running with walking sticks, and I genuinely was thinking, this is my plan B. Because even though I knew I was in a really bad way, I'd set that goal and I had the real core reason, the real core purpose behind it. So one way or another, I had it in my mind that it was going to take a lot not to make me finish that.
I think the other really important point about purpose that Mark alluded to on the introduction was the community engagement. So many people have said, what was your strategy? How did you do it? And, to have people stop in their cars, throw money at us, come out of houses, the 30-odd people that ran with us during the week, I believe that they only did that because there was purpose behind it. If it was just 2 middle-aged men running around the island for no reason, we would have gone unnoticed. But because there was a purpose behind it, it seemed to just inspire people to get behind it, which was amazing.
There's an important point in that, which is about that process and about the commitment to the purpose. One of the things that we learned, or we sort of worked out along the way, is committing to the process of being the best you can be, whatever that might be, is the most vital component. Because if you don't commit to the process, then you may well fall off it along the way, because that process isn't going to be a nice straight line from start to end to success. It's going to go up and down, and you're going to have terrible lows, and you're going to have terrible highs, and you're going to have a huge amount of doubt kicking in right the way through it. But if you fully commit to the process, you will get to the end. And what you learn through the journey is way more important and way more useful and worthwhile than whether you actually succeed or fail.
And that's the real difference between kind of discovering your purpose and pursuing it. The whole thing of taking that personal choice and the commitment and going after your purpose. And as Warren said, I think as soon as we pretty much crossed the finish line on day 7, we suddenly realised that what we'd gone through during training, what we'd experienced during the week was actually far more important from our life than actually crossing that finish line on day 7. Some of the things I learned about myself, the actual subject of commitment, I never knew I had that level of staying power to something. When the going gets tough, I thought, well, actually, I'll just slide onto something else. No, get the trainers on and go again. And the whole mind over body was absolutely ridiculous. For pretty much 6 out of the 7 days, your body is screaming at you, saying, "You've never run one of these before. What are you doing to me? Please stop. Go and have a rest. Go and see a doctor. Everything will be all right." And the mind is just going, "Body, shut up. You're going to be okay. We're just going to crack on through it." And there are things that you learn through that process. And it really is about embracing it and acknowledging it, that it isn't going to go perfectly every single time. But what you learn from it is so more important than success or failure.
What we achieve, I've worked out, is only actually constrained by ourselves. We can all do amazing things. Every single one of us in our room can do that. But it's about not worrying about failing. It's about working out what our purpose is, what we want to achieve, and just going for it. And don't worry about the failing, because even if you don't reach your actual goal, you'll find something else along the way which may even be more worthwhile. And imagine if everyone in this room today stopped for a moment and thought, what is my true purpose? What is that thing I want to go for that's going to leave an impact on this world when I'm no longer here? If everyone in this room did that today, it'd be a very, very powerful thing. And it will impact the lives of those around us. Imagine how you'd feel about that.
Everyone loves a list, don't they? We have 5 core lessons that we learnt from our 7 marathons in 7 days. Personal choice and commitment are really, really powerful tools. Every single one of us has them, but for some reason, when we're on those things in life, it negates our ability to use them. Number 2, ignore negative voices. When you're going after your purpose, you'll have negative voices within, those doubts, and you'll also have people around you that will say, "Can't do it." Ignore them. Number 3 was surround yourself with really, really good people. My litmus test for who you want to surround yourself with is if when you say, "I'm really passionate about this, I'm going to plow all my energy into this, I'm going for it," they turn around to you and go, "Be careful. I think you should set your goal a little bit lower." They're the people to avoid. We were really lucky to have a team around us that not only fixed us physically every single day, mentally they just encouraged us and just said, "You're going to do this, you're going to nail it, you're looking good, you're looking fresh," even though we weren't. But again, surround yourself with those people. Number 4, never be scared to fail. As we've said, the process, going through that process of being the best you can be, learning from it, and what you become during that process far outweigh success or failure. And number 5, never give up.
I totally agree. And never give up is probably one of the strongest messages that we can give from this, because there's a few things, but one is to set the bar of whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is that drives your purpose, higher than you feel comfortable with, and then commit, really, really commit to actually doing everything you can to achieve it, because you will take yourself to places that might even scare you in a way, but they will take you out of yourself and make you achieve or make you do things that are quite phenomenal. And I think the feeling that you get with that will surpass any of the effort or any of the sacrifices that you have to make to actually go through it. It really would be phenomenal. If everyone in this room started on that process today, we'd be a very long way to changing this whole community that we live in a positive way.
So as always, with these things, and with 3 minutes, 12, 11 seconds to go, there's a choice. If you're into wasting energy, wasting time, not going very far in life, never actually making progress towards what you want from it, then that treadmill-based existence is probably right up your street and the purpose that you're looking for. But if you want life to be a little bit different, if you want it to be exciting, and if you want it to be challenging, then it really is time to start to think about what you want from your life. It's time to start to think about what the vision you have for your own life is. It's time to start to think about how the person that you're having a coffee with or that you've just met, how you can leave them in a more positive state than when you first met them. It's about thinking about how we can leave this community in a better place than when we first arrived. And it's about thinking about how we can leave the world in a better place when we're gone. The best place to live on earth? Think about a place where every single person has a vision for their own life, where it's energized and fueled by purpose, where they're embracing that process of being the best they can be, where they're not even giving a thought to failing, and everyone's thinking, I'm never going to give up. Thank you. Yeah.